Mayor Joseph Clark, one of them good white men, even had a TV show called
Tell It to the Mayor.
So people
I know.
could tell it to the mayor on
She
TV.
told it to the mayor.
And I told it to the mayor a couple of times.
Welcome back to the Pulse of St. Louis. You're watching a dress rehearsal for Dot. It's the story of a woman with dementia bordering on Alzheimer's disease and how it affects her 3 daughters who have come home for the holidays. It's on stage now at the Black Rep, which is in its 41st season at Washington University's Edison Theater. Joining me now, Thomasina Clark. She plays Dot in the play. Ron Himes, he's the founder of the Black Rep and producing director. Dr. Eric Musick, a neurologist with the Knight Alzheimer's Disease Research Center at Washington University. Thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate it. Dot, what's it like to have Alzheimer's?
Oh my gosh, it's a lot of memory loss, a lot of wondering what's going on, a lot of hoping that the things that you look for and long for will come into view.
And then what is the message in the play?
The message is don't be ashamed of having Alzheimer's. It's something that happens, unfortunately, and if it does happen, seek help, but also seek the comfort. If you have family and friends, seek the comfort of family and friends, and people that can help ease you through this.
Yeah, Ron, what made you decide to showcase this particular play?
Well, I have a friend who actually originated the role of Dot. And while she was doing the play, she contacted me and said, Ron, you need to check this play out. And so I read the play and just loved it. I'm a big fan of the playwright Coleman Domingo, whose work I know as an actor. And I've been following him as a playwright. This is about the 3rd or 4th play of his that I know of. And so when I had an opportunity to get the rights to do the play, I knew it was the show for us to open the season with.
Yeah, and then how did you actually partner with Washington University? I mean, I know you at the Edison Theater. You've been there for a while now.
And yeah, and I'm also on faculty at the university. But a couple of years ago, we did a play called Twisted Melodies, which dealt with Donny Hathaway's battle with schizophrenia. And during that production, we partnered with like 14 mental health organizations. And so when I got the rights to Dot, I reached out to those, some of those organizations, and they said that, you know, Alzheimer's was different. Most of them didn't deal with that specifically, and they suggested that I contact someone over at the med school. So I talked to Holden Thorpe, who's the provost at the university, and he put me in touch with Dr. Morris. And then we realized that we actually had done another project. We had done another play in the past called For Pete's Sake, which dealt with a man with the early stages of Alzheimer's.
All right, Dr. Musick, just fill me in. What does the latest research show as it relates to Alzheimer's and its impact on the African American community?
Well, I think a lot of people don't realize that African Americans are almost twice as likely to get Alzheimer's disease as Caucasians and other races. So it's a big problem in the African American community that maybe hasn't gotten the attention that it should. And I think one of the big issues is we don't know why that disparity exists. And so we really need more research. There's been some, and it suggests there's some genetic differences, that maybe certain genes that increased risk of Alzheimer's disease are more likely to be present either in African Americans or other races, but there's a lot of unknowns about why there's this increased risk. And what's really held us back in the past is that we have not had enough research involving African Americans. So we need more African Americans to be involved in studies so that we can understand these differences.
Tell me a little bit about what Alzheimer's is and how it impacts the brain.
So Alzheimer's disease is a specific disease in which parts of the brain degenerate, so it's a degenerative disease, and it particularly affects short-term memory. So it's different than just normal aging in that it is progressive and it gets worse over time, and it eventually robs people not only of their memory but of other faculties, their ability to make decisions, that causes confusion, and it is an ultimately fatal disease. So I think a very important point is that this is not just a part of aging that we can all expect. This is a real disease, and now we know a lot about it, but we need to know more to stop it because it's incredibly common.
And there's no cure.
There is no cure at this point. Although there are a lot of hope and there are a lot of drugs that are in clinical trials right now that are designed to either stop it or at least slow it down. But as of right now, there is no cure.
Dot, when you are on stage and you are performing in your role, what kinds of symptoms do you exhibit? And your children, they recognize your 3 daughters, correct? You said
I have 2 daughters and
2
a
daughters.
son.
2 daughters and a son.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me their reaction when they see you.
My oldest daughter is frustrated because she is the initial caregiver. She is extremely frustrated. She sees it every day. She knows that I'm going in and out, in and out. She is trying to get my other children to come on board. They both have their lives. My son doesn't, he's in denial. He doesn't believe that there's anything wrong because I look normal. And
Yeah,
that's
but
one of the things.
but are you acting normally in their presence?
As far as he's concerned, I am. I'm the same mother that he knew until there's a moment. And when I have that moment and he realizes there's a problem, that's when he understands. The youngest daughter, she's on her own page. She's got her own life that she's dealing with. But she rises to the occasion and actually becomes the one that says, okay, we've got to get mom some help. This is what we're going to have to do.
Yeah. Ron, what struck you most about this production?
Because I think that is interesting, with, the statistics and the facts. The play is a comedy. It is really, really funny. And I think that that's what really drew me to it, is that it gives us an opportunity to look at this subject matter, but also to be able to enjoy it with humor and to enjoy the comedy in the play. All the while still getting information out that we think is so important for the community.
Yeah, and it is hard to watch a loved one suffer through any disease, but Alzheimer, I would think, is really hard because sometimes they don't even know you. I remember when my grandmother had Alzheimer's and I went to see her. She didn't know who I was, and it just broke my heart.
Yeah, it reaches a point, and the other day I was out here and, talking to John, and John said the same thing, but he talked about the things that are so funny, within the family. So there's sort of things that happen that are really funny that you wouldn't necessarily share with the public because people would think, something's wrong with you as well.
Right.
But, there are times when, the children look at Dot do something and it is funny. And their reaction to it is funny, or the way they talk about, what mom is going through is funny. And as she mentioned, each of the siblings have their own lives. Donnie, the son, comes home with his husband. The youngest daughter has been a reality TV star.
For 15 minutes.
So she's had her 15 minutes of fame, and now she's looking for her next reality show to take off. And the oldest daughter, who's been there, has tried to be the primary caregiver, but is just is so frustrated and so overwhelmed that she's drinking at 10 o'clock in the morning. And all of this is going on 3 days before Christmas. So there's also the pressure of the holidays, the tension that the holidays bring in terms of preparing for the holidays and family coming home.
Yeah.
So it's virtually everything is set up to hit the fan.
And I think it does, right, Dot?
It
All right,
does.
we got to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to the Pulse of St. Louis. Tonight we are talking about Alzheimer's and its impact on the African American community. And Dr. Music, before we went to break, I wanted to know a little bit more about Alzheimer's as well as dementia. So what is the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's?
It's a great question. Everyone asks this. So dementia is a symptom. So it just means that you have problems with your memory and thinking. Alzheimer's is a cause of dementia. So there's lots of things that can cause you to have memory problems, from neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's to stroke to head injury. But Alzheimer's disease is a cause of dementia, so it's a specific disease. So when you say that you have dementia, it's sort of like saying you have chest pain. You may have chest pain because you had pneumonia, or you had a heart attack, or you got hit in the chest. There's a reason for it. It's a symptom. So they are often the same because a lot of dementia is caused by Alzheimer's disease. but they're not necessarily interchangeable terms.
So how do you know then if it is Alzheimer's?
Well, we actually have technology now, some very new technology that allows us to see changes in the brain that are associated with Alzheimer's years before people have any symptoms. And so it used to be that you had to donate your brain and have an autopsy after you died, and it was the only way to know. But now we can actually diagnose Alzheimer's disease with pretty good certainty in people who are alive and kicking and actually have very minimal symptoms.
So what is it about the brain? What looks different if you are looking at it that would say, oh yeah, this is a person with Alzheimer's?
So the hallmark of Alzheimer's disease, when you look under a microscope, are these plaques. They're called amyloid plaques, and they're basically aggregations and globs of this protein called beta amyloid. We don't know why this accumulates in the brain, but you get these plaques. We think that they play a role in the disease itself, but they're certainly a sign of it. And now with these new imaging techniques, we can see these plaques in the brain using a special kind of scan, or we can see this protein in spinal fluid as well. And so we can actually diagnose it much earlier now.
Are there other symptoms other than memory loss? I mean, I know that's a hallmark of the disease.
Yeah, so Alzheimer's disease can be highly variable. There's a lot of different ways that it can present. People can have memory loss, they can have confusion, some people have problems with language, they can't find words, some people have problems with their visual system, seeing things and interpreting visual information, some people have trouble walking. It's highly variable, but the classic presentation is memory, and really memory is kind of the main symptom that kind of holds it all together. So that's the thing that we look for the most specifically in our clinic.
So Dot, what are you going through when you're on stage and you are engaging with your family, with your daughters and your son? I mean, do you sense their frustration?
Sometimes. Sometimes I sense their frustration. Sometimes I'm so lost in my world, I don't know what they're going through.
What's it like in your world?
Confusion, memory loss, denial, trying to keep up with what's going on, but not being able to keep up because one moment I am aware of what's going on, and then the next moment it's like, what just happened? What's going on? I don't know.
Do you sense loss as well? Because I know, like my relationship with my grandmother, I felt that there was so much that we lost because she didn't recognize me, and I would try to talk to her about things that we had done, and she just had no clue. And then she didn't even remember me.
There's a lot. There are several lines in the show. One in particular, my son's girlfriend asks or tells me everything is fine, and I'm telling her, no, I'm not. I'm losing. You know, I know what's going on.
Something's going on.
Yeah, I'm not the same person that I was, and I am now losing. This is not me. I can't remember how to put my clothes away. I can't get organized. I lose everything. I forget what I just said or did. You know, all these things that used to just fire, they're gone now. And I wanted to say, my mom donated her brain. My mom passed away. She was 103, and she donated her brain to Memory and Aging because she was going through.
She had Alzheimer's?
Yeah, I might be in denial too. I want to say it was just a little bit, but she had moments where repetition, the constant repeating the same thing, asking for the same thing, doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But she was very involved in memory and aging, and one of the things that she said was that she wanted to donate her brain to memory and aging. So when she passed away, that's what we made
what
sure
a
happened.
gift.
Yeah.
What a gift. That's great.
We
Hold that
certainly
thought, Dr.
appreciate it.
Music. Hold that thought. I've got to take a break. Stay with us. We'll be right back, and we'll let Dr. Music finish his thought, I promise. Back in a moment.
I was going to say it's a huge gift, and at the Knight Alzheimer's Disease Research Center at WashU, we are absolutely on the lookout for people who are willing to participate in these studies. And your mother's contribution, not only of her time coming in so that we can follow her, but also of her brain so that we can see the changes, is worth its weight in gold. And so we're absolutely looking for African Americans in particular because they have been so underrepresented in previous studies. So it's a really important gift.
Yeah.
And
And
so-
so
Yeah, Ronald's going to say after the play.
so
medical,
the
if we
performances
can
are running now through September 24th. Most of the performances have a facilitated post-show discussion with either a doctor or a staff member from the Knight Research Project. And we hope that people will come out, see the show, pick up some resource information, and learn some more about dementia and Alzheimer's.
Dot, I can't wait to see you on stage.
Well, thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate it. A lot of good information. And thank you for joining us for the Pulse of St. Louis. Remember, if you missed any of tonight's show, you can listen to the podcast. Just search Pulse in the iTunes or Google Play stores, or click the link on our website. And for News 24/7, download the News 11 app. And be sure to watch News 11 at noon, 4, and 7 during the week. I'll see you next time.